Hello, this is Gary at Jack Raven Bushcraft, and thank you for watching our video. This week I wanted to talk briefly about digging sticks. So a little bit of context. I was on a social media page dedicated to bushcraft. This is maybe last week, and someone came on and asked other people to recommend a knife that they could use for digging up roots. And so people have been helpful when they came along with all kinds of suggestions, kind of like your MOD survival knife, that kind of thing, those kinds of things. And two things kind of struck me about this. So it was a UK based page group. So first up is that, of course, in the UK, under the Countryside and Wildlife Act, it is illegal to uproot plants unless you have the landowner's permission, with a further caveat that if it's a plant that is listed in Schedule 8, that it is protected and it is illegal to dig up anyway. So you need to be kind of knowing where you are with the law in regard to uprooting plants. But the kind of the other thing that struck me was really, why would you use your knife to start digging things up? Your knife is, arguably your most important tool in an outdoor setting. Certainly in a survival situation, your knife is going to be your most important thing, and so you're going to want to do everything you can to protect your knife. So why would you purposefully use it to do a task for which it is not designed? So a knife is a cutting tool, it isn't a digging tool. And of course, sticking your knife into the ground, there's going to be stones and all kinds of things in there that are likely to damage the edge of your knife. So it seems to be a more sensible thing to do, in fact, would be to make yourself a digging stick. So I got a bit of sweet chestnut here, in fact. So to turn this into a digging stick, I mean, basically I can just put I got a point on the end, which is going to be fantastic. You kind of get into the ground. Personally, I tend to go more with a wedge shape on the end, so I could do that very easily. I've got a stump next to me now, so you can see I'm just kind of stood up against the stump, stand back a little bit, hold the stick across my body, and now I could just sort of take off bits of the stick like this. So a stump definitely makes life much easier to do this kind of thing. So I can just kind of, this sort of approach. Note where my hand is. So the reason I took that little half step back, I should say, if I did it here, then I'm going to just put my hand into the stump every time. So if I just take that little half step back, now I could go up and down, but my hand is missing the stump. So as I say, a stump definitely makes it easier to do this kind of thing. However, it might be that you don't have a stump available, so we're going to just have to kind of carve stood up right into thin air. So this I would cancel against. This is kind of swinging wildly with your knife and a lack of control. So instead, what I would kind of go for is more off to the side, like so. And this method, my knife is going a little more anyway, not entirely, but more in a downward motion rather than a sweeping motion. So this is going to be much safer. So as I say, all I need to do is carve this into something of a wedge shape. It put me in mind of the actual question itself, put me in mind to another kind of thing that you often see more on TV shows than anywhere else, to be fair. But it's this idea of tying your knife to the end of a stick to make a spear. Again, don't risk your knife. Don't tie it to the end of a stick. Just put a point on the end of the stick and you've still got a spear. Of course, if you put a little bit of work into the more primitive skills aspect of bushcraft, then you could start, you know, using some flint, that kind of thing, to make a head for it. But at the very least, a pointy bit on the end is going to do the trick. It had a little knot there. And yeah, protect your knife at all costs, basically. Now, what I found with digging sticks, it doesn't pay to go, I need a little bit more on this yet, but it doesn't pay to go too thin on the end, because it just breaks anyway. So you want to keep it, you know, kind of, I don't know, 5mm or so, a quarter of an inch thick on the end. So something like that, getting there. Very nearly. So we've now got something that's got to be able to pound into the ground there. That's going to work perfectly well. Of course, I could get this into a fire harden the end up there, make it that little bit extra tougher. But another concept that, or something you could potentially do, and I'm pretty sure this is a Dave Canterbury thing, but if not, if you know different, then please feel free to let me know. We could turn this into a woodland multi-tool. So by putting a hammer on this end and then also using it kind of as a throw-in stick. Now, just for the sake of time here, in the interest of time, I'm going to do the multi-tool with a hatchet. So what I want to do is I just got to kind of chop in around the end here. I want to go around more or less in a circle so that my cuts finish up the same place that they started. Whoops. And now what I can do is just kind of start making this a little bit thinner and then down. And now I can just turn this around, and I'm going to do the same thing on this end. Right, so, and I'm just going to repeat this now all the way around. So essentially what I'm doing is making it thinner in the middle than it is on either end. A bit like, I guess, the dumbbells for if you do a bit of weightlifting, that kind of thing. So it's thinner in the middle, the bar in the middle, and then you've got the weights on the end, so to speak, making it a bit wider diameter. So I'm just kind of just taking it off there in little bits. Note my hand position on the hatchet, so my hand is up really very much under the head of the axe. So this is known as, or the hatchet I should say, so this is known as strangling, when you've got your hand up this end. So hand down this end, lots of power; hand up this end, lots of control. So understanding your hand position on this when you're using these tools is a useful thing, useful bit of knowledge. Nearly there. Certainly around here we have lots of birds, small birds, pheasants specifically, and a throwing stick is would certainly be, if the law permitted, would be a way to hunt for those kind of small ground birds. It's starting to shape up there now. Yeah, I could be doing all of this with a knife, it would all work, it just takes a bit longer. That is the great kind of thing with an axe, it just sort of, or a hatchet, it just speeds up all your tasks. It makes them that much easier and quicker and more energy efficient, I would say. And it's certainly warming me up a little bit in this unusual for this part of the country anyway, to have this kind of weather, so you can see the snow all around us at the moment. You could kind of see there now, guys, you're getting the general gist of what's going on. Let me just put the mask back on. So, as I say, I could probably just shape this a little bit more. Yeah, it needs probably a bit more taken off there, but you kind of get the general idea. So I've got my digging stick on this end, I've got a hammer on this end, and then if I kind of throw it this way, so it sort of spins around kind of like a helicopter, rotor blades, then I've got a throw-in stick in there as well. So as I said, I think that's a Dave Canterbury idea, but I'm not entirely certain on it. The main point here, actually, what I kind of started off talking about, guys, is it's not so much the multi-tool, as useful and fun as they are to put together. It's more about the digging stick aspect of it. So just being able to get in there to dig those plants out of the ground where you are able to, so where it's lawful to do so, where it's sustainable to do so. Protect your knife at all costs. It is the most important tool that you're likely to have with you in a wilderness setting. So yeah, don't start using it to dig things out of the ground. Hopefully that is of use to you. We will hope to get another video out next week. In the meantime, please subscribe to either our blog or our YouTube channel. Take care and stay safe.